And hello, we are live. We are live on the Action Popcast channel. Me, Nick APD, and to the side of me, Kat Vadersgirl28. How are you, Kat?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me back. Hey, everybody.
I'm surprised you chose to come back, if I'm honest. I mean, the stress I put you through.
I mean, it was stressful, but come on, we had a lot of fun. I think so. And we need your turn to be an expert on the subject. So,
oh, right. Well, the first thing I'm going to say is I am not an expert on this film. It's just a film I've seen a lot as a kid, and I've gone and I've got some facts off the internet to support our discussion this evening. If that makes me an expert, then I don't know. Little bit of, I wouldn't want to call it housekeeping before we get in saying hello to the chat. There is a fault in my village on the internet. I have had terrible internet problems, dropouts with camera and stuff. My audio, thankfully, always stays consistent. But if I go a bit blurry tonight, consider it somewhat of a bonus that you don't have to look at my ugly mug. But there's nothing I can do about it, is the bottom line. Because believe you me, I have been on at my internet provider, and it's been an ordeal. That Cat got to experience me losing my temper with the other night on StreamYard when we were setting something up. So it's been a thing, hasn't it, Kat?
It has. But I mean, are you really doing a show if you're not having problems? So
well,
everybody has issues. So.
Yeah, but it just seems whenever I go near a show, it's like it gets a little bit jinxed.
It does.
And just not to gross people out, I've just had a massive chug of beer just before the show started, and now my body's going, oh, you're full of gas now. I'm full of hot air always. But there you go.
Oh,
but and an apology. This show was supposed to happen last night, but basically my mother-in-law offered to have our son last night, and today is mine and my wife's 17th wedding anniversary. But it gave us an opportunity to go out and do stuff, and we were like, I messaged Kat and I was like, she said on Friday, I said, Kat, do you mind? And she's like, not at all, mate, go out. So it's completely on me, but I thought happy wife, happy life and all that business. So
probably. But you know, you guys need to celebrate your anniversary, and if you could do it without a kid around, you don't get that little break. Absolutely. So I know I'm not alone in saying this, but happy anniversary to you and the missus. So
thank you very much. Well, what you mean is you can swing off the chandeliers and not worry about it. Yeah, the truth of the matter is, you get. we were going to go out last night, but then I had a horrible headache. Carla had a horrible headache, so we just got a massive Chinese takeaway, and we sat and watched TV and fell asleep on the sofa. What more could you want? But like, uninterrupted. So we went out nice and early today for a really posh breakfast instead of last night. But you know. We tried to go out, but we were both like, oh my God, we were just like, oh, we can't do this. Carla was like, is there any point in us actually go? She's like, I'll go and pick stuff up. We can do it at home. I was like, so, but it was still nice because if we'd have done the stream, we still wouldn't have been able to get to do that. So, you know, it is what it is. But anyway, I've waffled far, far too much about my life and what's going on. I did ask you what you've been up to, didn't I, Kat? I wasn't completely ignorant, was I?
No. I mean, you asked me how I was doing and stuff. So it's been a long week. I'm a single mom. My kiddo started 5th grade this week. So that's been hard trying to get into a routine again. And then he got sick. So I've been dealing with the sick kiddo all weekend and stuff. So,
no.
but we're hanging in there. He's starting to get better. And I have a cat trying to kill me on the side of me. So if I do little yells, I apologize to everyone. But yeah, doing pretty good.
That's good. As long as you're doing good. There's me waffling about like my time, and it's like, it's important to check in with you, you know, but no, kids starting back at school. We've got that fun in just over a week's time. So I'll report to you in a week just how that's going.
Good. Awesome.
Oh dear. Should we say hello to the chat though?
Absolutely. It's not the same without them. So
It's not the same without them. Well, the award for earliest comment this evening was from Gap After Dark. He said, "Hello, Nick. Hello, everyone." I'm sure he meant. I'm sure he was saying hello to you as well, Kat. I'm sure.
I'm not offended. It's a gap. It's fine.
he's on your voodoo doll list now. I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
We've also had TJC and saying evening all. Hello, TJC. Cheers for popping along, man. Jojo. We have Jojo. Oh, so
Hey.
quick thing. So before I built my toilet cubicle that I stream in, I always used to be sat with a TARDIS behind me, didn't I? Or was that a big TARDIS tent? Yes. Well, Jojo popped round my house this week with a present for me. She said, "It's not right you not having a TARDIS behind you." So she brought me this really awesome, really cool TARDIS poster to go on my door. So I've got a TARDIS back behind me. So
That's great.
And she brought 2 sizes. She was like, "Well, you pick the size that fits best on your door and I'll keep the other one." And then she got sweet talked by Jax, my son, and he ended up with a spare one for his bedroom. So there you go.
Nice.
So thank you, Jojo. We've got Albert in. Hello. He says,
Albert.
"Hey, everyone. Looking forward to this one." Excellent. I'm glad that you're here. Thanks for popping along. We've got G4 saying, "Hey, APD and Kat." And he's also saying hello in other comments to all the chat. We've got Monkey Boy's Toys. Oosh. He says, oosh. Thank you for joining us, Monkey Boy. Good to see you. We've got Miss Day. She says, "Oi, oi." Hello, Miss Day. Oi, oi, back at you. She does the emoji and the wavy facey thingy. So hello, good to see you. We also have, who have we got here? I just need to go and find it. We also have my special friend, Emma C, in the chat. Hello, Emma. Good to see you. I'm never gonna stop doing that, by the way.
No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't.
It sounds weird when I say my special friend. It's nothing weird or untoward. It's just, if you've seen the show, the in-between is friend, oh, you special. It's a reference to that. So we have Travels and More with Jason. He says, "Evening all." Hello. We have Zombie Hunter. Hello. He says, "Hey, Monkey Boy and Jason." We've also got Delvian Seek. Sup, Delvian? Cheers for joining us. Really importantly, we have the other half of the Action Popcast podcast. We have Kim Gonick. She says, "Evening all." Big thank you to Kim Gonick as well for doing all the techie slide business for us this evening. Always appreciated. Who else have we got? Just checking I'm not double dipping. Oh, we've got Salacious Rum, naked on the sofa. Hey, here we go.
Hello, Rob.
I have to thank Rum and say thank you for allowing me into the 1 Minute Ice Cream Club. If you are not aware of what the 1 Minute Ice Cream Club is, I suggest you check out Rum's channel. And if you feel like you can take part in that, submit your videos accordingly. We also have Adam Fleming. "Please talk about the memory wipe scene in the movie with great detail. It's cool. Zarkov can remember his own birth and the world his mother given to existence." Yes, and he also remembers in the wrong order. It's really strange little detail, but it's remembered in the wrong order. But I'm sure we'll get to that. If not, remind us. Yep. We have Manga Fandanga. What's up, Sai? Good to see you, man.
Hi.
Oh, let me just scrolling through. There's bloody loads of people in. Wow. Thank you all for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
We have
appreciate it.
Alan Dawson in. He says, "Evening all." Alan Dawson, the man of action. Let me just keep going. I've already said hey to Adam. Captain I'm sorry I'm butchering your surname. I'm just saying, Captain, thank you for joining us. I'm not known for my pronunciation or reading or spelling or any of it. I'm as thick as 2 short planks, but thank you so much for joining us. Oh, and I nearly missed Ben. Ben, hi folks. Hi Ben. Good to see you, man.
Hello, Ben.
Good to see you. And if I've missed anyone, just tell me I'm a numpty and I'll bring you up.
Did you get Terry?
TJC?
Yeah, did you
I'm sure I did get TJC, but just in case he gets a double hello. So there we go.
I couldn't remember, so I didn't want him to think that we forgot him.
I love it when people show up in force. I really do, but reading through the comments and they're jumping as you're doing them, so you're doing your best to read them and not lose place. Oh, what's Jason saying here before we get into it? Well, Nick, I needed something to stop me doing my housework, lol. And great fan of Flash Gordon. Excellent. Well, I guess being a fan of Flash is probably beneficial for this. So how did this come about? Right. So obviously the last stream, Kat picked her subject, which was, I was going to say Flash Gordon, which was Godzilla.
Godzilla.
Oh my God, that is the biggest subject I've ever even attempted to look into. I mean, I know a little bit, but wow. And then we were like, oh, we should do another show. We really enjoyed that. And we had a couple of ideas, and I just mentioned that I wanted to watch Flash Gordon, and that was it. This is how we got here, because I am a big fan of Flash Gordon. And that being Flash Gordon, the film from 1980. So I'm sure everyone... No. But so Kat, before we go into the intro of how Flash Gordon began, tell our lovely chat here and anyone listening after on catch up what you said to me when I first mentioned doing Flash Gordon.
I believe I said ridiculous.
Pretty much.
I'm pretty sure that's what I said to it, because it is. It's absolutely 80s ridiculousness, cheesiness. I didn't grow up with it like I know most did. I can't remember exactly, but my sister made me watch it sometime between I was like 13 and 15. So it kind of melded into there. But that's what I first saw. And I was like, what are you making me watch? And she goes, I know. But she told me she had the biggest crush on Flash. And she goes, he was like my Christopher Reeve. You know how you grew up having a crush on him? I was like, yeah. She goes, Flash was my Christopher Reeve. I was like, oh, okay. So she used to watch it all the time. So she had to share.
So it wasn't only your sister grew up with a crush on Christopher Reeves then?
She didn't really like. That was her Flash. Flash was her Christopher. Yeah.
No, well, thank goodness those were the days before the internet, because I came across some alarming pictures when I was doing some research for this, because old Sam J. Jones before fame did do a Playgirl shoot. So if you're in,
okay.
Yeah. So if you want to see Flash flashing, then it is out there on the internet.
Not really. No.
I can't take it back. It's burnt into my retinas. It's just there.
Yeah. Sharing is not always caring, Nick.
Yeah, I know, but what I should probably turn Safe Search back onto my internet search.
Yeah, you should.
But
you should. That's funny.
But anyway, we should probably go into a little bit of history on Flash Gordon. And we're not going to hang around too much on the past of Flash Gordon, but it's probably important to go into it. So Flash Gordon was originally created in 1934 by a chap called Alex Raymond. So it was a comic strip, and it ran till 2003, the original run. So it ran all those years, which is absolutely crazy. And from what I understand, from what I read on the internet, this was sort of an answer to Buck Rogers, which was created just before. So this was like their rival to it. So we got that. And another interesting thing about Flash Gordon is in the movie that we're going to be discussing, he's a football player, right? An American football player, I'll say, for the English people in the chat here, because soccer and football, different things. We just call soccer football. And he was originally a polo player. But in the movie, they made him a football player, which kind of makes sense because Sam Jones, I'll just say Sam Jones for the purpose of this, he had a very short stint in the NFL before being cast as Flash. Oh, yeah. He was also previously a Marine as well, hence so he's a very athletic guy, very sporty, and so, he did that. And then later on, Flash Gordon was adapted into these TV serials played by a guy called Buster Crabbe, and they were old black and white serials that were very popular. Let me just get the years for that. I'm sorry that I'm missing the years. I can't find 1954. I do apologise. There's some facts that I just can't remember about my notes, so you'll have to forgive me on that. So yeah, 1954, the TV serials, and you've got that. So you've got the new adventure. Sorry, I am stumbling over my words. Forgive me there. That's what happens when you're trying to read 16 things at once. So yeah, you have Buster Crabbe playing Flash Gordon. They were the old TV serials. Very cool. And these, believe it or not, in their own little paradox, these, if you watch the start of these, there's a scrolling text at the beginning of them explaining what's going on. We will get into this later, but can you think of anything else in sci-fi that had a scrolling text at the start to explain what was going on?
Maybe what's behind me? Maybe is that where they got their inspiration from? Maybe I don't know. Might have been Star Wars.
But I do apologise. I'm going to go back on what I've just said there. It actually says here in my notes, 1936, 1938 and 1940 Flash was portrayed by Buster Crabbe. So my apologies for that. That's what I was getting myself stumbled on, because in 1954 there was a TV series that starred a chap called Steve Holland. Okay, so that's where I was getting confused there. But as I say, I'm not going to get my facts too wrong, hopefully. I'm just going over a few, just to give people a little bit of a background of what Flash Gordon is. And of course, over the years, Flash Gordon has ventured out into various cartoons and TV series. There was the New Adventures of Flash Gordon, which ran from 79 to 82. I saw some of this as a kid, even in the 90s. This was kicking around on TV. There was this terrible Flash Gordon 1996 cartoon. This was absolute shit. I knew this as a kid that it was terrible. I hated this. Because at that time, I was very aware of the Flash Gordon film. And there was one, I actually need to go and bring this picture up. I've had to do this as an overlay because I forgot to send this one to Kim. Defenders of the Earth, Flash Gordon took part in that. And I'm sure a lot of us here in the chat will be aware of that cartoon, which was an ensemble cast of different characters. So yeah, Flash appeared in that. And then in 2007, Flash Gordon had a TV series, which I believe it was on Sci-Fi, and it bombed. It was rubbish. No one really liked it. They didn't renew it, and that was that. So that is your very brief history of Flash Gordon. I'm sorry I stumbled on some of the facts at the beginning. I was reading the wrong dates. As I say, there was no way I could have memorized all those, so apologies. But we're not really here to talk about the past of Flash. Just felt it was important to give some context and let people know that this didn't just crop up in 1980. This had a long, rich background, which still goes on to this day. Yep. So then we get into the film. 1980, Flash Gordon. It's released at the cinema. I assume everyone here has seen this. Before we go into discussing the film a little bit more, I'm just going to go over the comments, if you do not mind, Kat.
No, absolutely. I saw some good comments in there about it, so...
Let me have a look. I've got to jump up. The comments jump for so long. So
I will say real quickly while you're trying to find something. I tried to rewatch that 1996 Flash Gordon. No, I couldn't. I remember seeing the cartoon, the one from the 80s, but the one from 96 was horrible. I tried watching the one from 2006. I understand why it got canceled. It wasn't much better.
I mean, this isn't the most important comment, but Jojo here says, "Be right back, off to look at some naughty pictures."
I saw that. Let me know, Joe. Let me know how that goes,
Ben was saying, Rhys Arkoff's Minesweep scene, his memories were supposed to be in reverse, hence being born, then in utero. Yeah, they were, but when you watch it, and I noticed that because I've watched this film 3 times in the last month in preparation for this. Once because I wanted to watch it to catch up, twice because my son Jackson has now absolutely fallen in love with Flash Gordon, and a 3rd time today because I was like, wow, we're doing the stream tonight, and Carla hadn't actually seen it, and she's a big Queen fan, so we watched Flash Gordon together before the boy got back. But just to say, my son will kill me. He will not forgive me if I do not bring this up. He has become so he's fallen in love with Flash Gordon, and he drew this especially for the show. He drew the Hawkman, so he wanted me to show this on stream. Awesome. He's shut, and I promised him I'd do this. So there you go, Jackson. He can watch the stream back, despite the fact I've already sworn, because he lives with me and he hears far worse coming out of his daddy's mouth. He just knows that anything daddy says is probably not something you should say aloud. But yeah, well done, Jats. No, really proud of that picture, mate. So jumping back into these comments, we got Captain saying, thank God for Dino De Laurentiis. Yeah, the producer of the film, but we will get into that. What have we got here? Adam Fleming, please talk about the scientist wipe scene from the movie. It's cool. We get to see Zarkov's life. I think we already had that one. That's because the comments are jumping about, you know.
I know,
Tonight
okay.
my camera's not dicking about, but my chat is jumping up and down. So it's Adam saying, it's cool. Zarkov can remember his own. Yeah. Can remember his own mother giving life to him. I still remember the day I first watched the movie. It was what I remembered most about it. So I can,
Traumatized.
but yeah. So yeah, we're now into the film. So a couple of details about the film. Obviously, it's called Flash Gordon, simple, from 1980. It was directed by a chap called Mike Hodges, who I knew Mike Hodges, the director of this movie. He was an absolutely lovely guy. He passed away a couple of Christmases ago. So I think it's coming up 3 years this Christmas. How did I know Mike Hodges? He was a customer of mine. And he was absolutely lovely. And I used to be really shy. I wouldn't speak to him about anything. And I was working with a bloke. And I remember saying to him, oh, I wonder if he'd ever sign one of like my Get Carter DVD or anything or chatting. And the guy I was working with was like, just ask him. He sounded be fine with it. I was like, no, I don't want to bother him. And then he goes in his real deep Dorset accent, here, Mike, Nick wants to talk to you about your films.
Oh, please. Not embarrassing at all.
No, not embarrassing at all. So Mike Hodges, excellent guy. I remember he was brilliant. He always used to wear the same. He always wore this little black tatty jumper with a flat cap, same ripped up blue jeans, and he drove this beat up, this ancient Volvo. And he'd all, you know, he always looked the same. Really nice guy. Had a good discussion with me. And my biggest regret is I never did get anything signed by him because I never wanted to bother him with it, even though he would have done it. Because I was like, I really didn't want to cross the line with that. So yeah, anyway, that's my little line into Mike Hodges. Rest in peace, mate. You were a top man and very accommodating. It was produced by Dino De Laurentiis, an Italian producer. Cool guy, but a guy had a real eye for detail. And something I found out while researching this is Dino had a vision of this film being a lot more serious than it was, whereas Mike and the cast, given how it was written in a very, very campy way. So there was some conflict there. It was not a serious movie at all.
Rewatching that, there's no serious tones in it. Oh no, we're being taken seriously. No serious. Maybe the seriousness was them doing earthquakes in the beginning and stuff and hurricanes, but after that,
and of course, famously, Queen did the music for this film, and we'll give Queen their own little section a bit later on because you know it's there's a bit to say about Queen working on this, but and I grew up in a house with a dad who's fanatical on Queen. But yes, let's just go into a little bit of the cast. So Flash Gordon was played by Sam J. Jones up there on the Hawk cycle. You know, that's probably one of the most iconic scenes from Flash Gordon. And if the artwork we had for the thumbnail of this is supposed to be me and Kat on a Hawk cycle, but we couldn't. But I think it's actually us on a jet ski, isn't it?
Yeah. It did not like me putting in AI does not understand me putting that sled in. It did not. It gave me some funky things. So if I put in jet ski, it was the closest that I got to it. So yeah.
So, yeah, it's just one of those crazy things. So yeah, the secret's out. Kat uses this AI app to make our thumbnails. Well, she gets them. What Kat does is she sends me the figures and I cut them out and I try and do the background to them, and then we sit there talking for ages trying to decide on what one we do and don't like is normally what happens, or has happened the last 2 times. So yeah, that's Flash. We will touch back on this later, but I just want to show this. If you recognize that scene, you know, cutting to the first Ted film. So Sam J. Jones was in both Ted films, but obviously, a few people who've seen Ted will know that he reappeared in his outfit for this for Ted on the Hawk cycle with Mark Wahlberg. So I just had to show that because it's just such a cool image. And I remember watching that film being like, oh my God, it's Flash Gordon. It's just the music, it's everything. But we got a hell of a cast in this movie. So you've got Voltan was played by Brian Blessed. Gordon's alive. You know, we all know that. Timothy Dalton played Prince Barin. Timothy Dalton's done loads. I mean, the role I loved him in most was as James Bond. He was a fantastic James Bond. Del Arden was played by Melody Anderson. Ming the Merciless by Max von Sydow, if I've said that right. Obviously, Ming the Merciless. I mean, he looks like Anton LaVey, but there you go. Princess Aura, his daughter, played by Ornella Muti. Yeah. Kat, who's this I'm pointing at? The one with the mask on. What were we saying before this?
That is Dr. Doom. I don't care who anybody says that. When I was rewatching, I was like, I didn't remember Dr. Doom in this, and nobody can tell me otherwise. That's Dr. Doom. So you can't look at that and not say it's Dr. Doom.
I'm not going to bring him up, but sorry to cut you off here.
Oh, you're fine.
We've by the looks of it, I won't bring him up, but we've had some dickhead in the comments section trolling us. Yay, you're all right. That's all right. Enjoy it, mate. Enjoy it. If your life's that sad that you have to troll a YouTube stream, mate, I mean, go back and watch it.
Some people just need attention or want attention, so they do it.
Oh, I know. It's it's one of those. No, the thing is though, and thank you, mods. Yes. I have to go careful now, and I learned this when I was streaming with Monkey Boy. The mods do a great job, and they can jump on and they can remove the comments or the idiots. And I apologise to anyone in the chat if this person's upset or if just ignore them. You're always going to get dickheads on the internet. But long and short of it is the comments still come through to me on StreamYard. So I can still see the comments. So I have to go careful, which adds an extra layer to when you're streaming, not just to click on comments.
Yeah.
So
I've learned to do that with Rum's comments. Sometimes I forget who I'm clicking on, and then I'm like, oh. I get it.
Absolutely. So yeah, Cletus, or as Kat says, Dr. Doom, played by Peter Wingard. Yep. And given that, you know, he was created for this film, as me and Kat found out, not that long ago, not that long ago at all, maybe minutes before the stream. You know, it's fair to say that he probably, I can make this just a touch larger, if that helps. I think it's fair to say that there was probably some inspiration there. And going into the rest of the main cast, General Carla was played by Mariangela Malato. I am probably destroying the pronunciation of all these names, but forgive me. Dr. Han Zarov was played by Topol. His name is Chaim Topol, but everyone and even on listings, he's referred to as Topol. And Fico, he wasn't the biggest role in the film, but it's Richard O'Brien. Richard O'Brien, the creator of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, which we all know I love. So Richard O'Brien got a slot in here. And you might look down here and think, why have you included this guy with the glasses on? This quite minor character from the very start of the film and from a bit later on when Baron pulls the goggles off. Now, I don't know if any of you recognise that guy. You may recognise the name Observer Number 2, played by John Hollis. That is Lobot.
You should have done a close-up of his bald top head, and then maybe they got it. You should have showed the top half.
I'll tell you why I didn't bring the picture up. I couldn't get a decent picture of that scene without it pixelating to hell.
Yeah.
And I always try and use pictures from in the film, hopefully that it doesn't mess about with copyright, because who knows in this crazy day and age.
Right.
So we've had a quick look at the cast. I'm just going to have a quick look through the comments, try and get past the ones that we're not reading out.
Yep.
Silver Scratch Built Productions. Hey there. Says, hello, peeps. Thank you for popping along.
He comes on. He's a good friend. He does model building and stuff like that. He's a good guy.
Is this the guy who drives the pickup truck? Unimportant. Popped on your stream the other week. Sure of it. Sure of it. Could be wrong. Anyway, completely unimportant. I think I've watched some of his stuff. I think I have. Sorry if I haven't, but thank you for popping along. I'll definitely check your stuff out. I'm just checking.
It does look like some people knew it was Lobot.
Sorry, it's now taking me a while to get past the comments because I'm now in to filter past the dickhead who was in the comments.
No. It's all good. All good. They understand. People have had them on theirs too, so they understand, It's all good.
That's Monkey Boy saying, thanks, Kim. I didn't have the option to do anything but remove comments. So Kim and Monkey Boy, good on you guys. Thank you so much for sorting out that idiot. Ben Dowdy comes in with side owl. Thank you. I'm terrible pronunciation. Reading movies. Hello. And thank you for joining. Cletus was a great character. British TV channels always cut his death scene and his right pills comment. His death scene, though, that death scene is so cool, especially when his tongue pops out of his head and his eyes bulge out. It's just everything in that movie is completely over the top.
Yes.
Watching the documentary Life After Flash, he was the actor who played him, because I'm not going to bother butchering his name again, was saying that he had to basically learn to speak like a ventriloquist because the mask completely constricted how he would speak. So it took him a while, but he got his head to it. He got his head into it. Let me have a look. Another active. Let me have a look. And TJC says, can't believe you keep insulting me like that, Nick. You asked me to be here.
That's low, Nick. That's low.
I know. So yeah, Flash Gordon, 1980. So we've got Flash Gordon. He's the football player. We know the scene starts off in the airfield. Well, actually, the film starts off with Ming talking and deciding to destroy the Earth. But once we get past that and the epic Queen and the comic book thing, getting into the story, we're at the airfield. Robbie Coltrane was actually in that scene. Robbie Coltrane was in this film, but yeah, I couldn't really spot him. I looked today, and maybe I just need glasses. But
I didn't know that. Okay,
just for how over the top this film is. So Flash gets on the plane. Everything about this film is just crazy, isn't it, Kat? Because you think he gets on the plane by chance, plot reasons. He's been taking flying lessons. But the thing I want to say, and I'm assuming everyone here's seen this, because I don't want to talk through absolutely every scene, but I'm going to go through the film in order and the things that jump out at me. What the hell happened to the pilots? What happened to the pilots when that meteorite struck the plane? Because did they get sucked out? Because no one else got sucked. Did the plane depressurize? What happened? What actually happened?
When I was rewatching this, I literally turned my back for a second, and I was like, "Wait, where's the pilot? What happened?" I saw a little break in the windshield, right? And I'm like, "Did they get sucked out? What happened?" And then I went back, and it doesn't show anything. I was just like, "Oh,
I know. It's just
all right."
And bear in mind, it sounds like we might be taking the piss here, but bear in mind, I love this film. I absolutely. Jason says yes, they got sucked out. I believe that's all good. But nothing happened to the rest of the cat. There was a curtain then leading back to Flash and Dell. They were absolutely fine. And Flash just gets up sort of oh, yeah, the pilots are gone. And and it's just, I love the scene. I love the almost forced chemistry between Dale and Flash where he's touching out, explaining about turbulence and stuff. And the bit I really love in it, Flash, who's just said to Dell, I've been taking flying lessons. He turns around to the pilots, the professional pilots, and says, when they're going on about turbulence, hey guys, maybe if you go a bit higher, you'll get over the turbulence. I'm like,
that's Flash.
And it's just the bit where the guy's reading the Time magazine or whatever it is with Flash. He's like, "Say, Flash, would you mind signing this for my son?" "Sure, no problem." "What's his name?" "Buzz." I'm like, you couldn't have any more American than Buzz, could you?
No, you couldn't.
Absolutely brilliant. So,
You know, it's just a classic 80s cheesiness movies. That's what the 80s was. You know, it had filled with cheesy, but like great movies. And I do like it a lot better since I've rewatched it. I still think it's ridiculous, but I definitely like it a lot more now after having rewatched it. So,
Reading Movie says novelizations mentions what happened to the pilots, but I can't remember what. Well, not a problem, but thank you for your comment. Any which way, I mean, I assume they just got sucked out, or maybe
that's what
they
thought.
got vaporized by the thing. But it's today when I watched it, it's the first time. All these things always stand out as I've got older and watched. As a kid, you don't care. But today, when I was watching it, I really did take a proper. I was looking for all the crazy bits because if you love a film, you tend to forgive a lot of silly little things, don't you? But
Yeah, you do. But I mean, and thank goodness, Flash had flying lessons, so he could take over, and they weren't going down. He saved them. So thank goodness for Flash.
And I absolutely love the bit. I love that. I bring up the wrong slide. I love that Zarkov, Dr. Han Zarkov. I love that when he's in his lab and he's talking about, "I've been right for all these years. It's an attack. It's an attack." Like, he just turns a gun on his assistant. Like, "We've got to go up there." Like, what? And then
his like how he would deliver lines was so dramatic. Like, "What are you doing?" Like, okay, I don't know. It wasn't like in a bad way. It was just like he was very extra, and you're just like, "Oh, okay, that's how we're gonna go with it." Got it. But yeah,
did you notice after his assistant gets away and Flash crash lands the plane, and him and Dale are miraculously completely fine despite going through all the film? Because it's Flash Gordon, climbs out let's climb out of this thing before it blows. But did you notice that his assistant basically got mowed down by that plane? So he was. Yeah. There's a few dark. See, for as campy as this film is, there are some really. I think that's quite a dark moment, really. That the guy, a guy gets mowed down and no one gives a shit. It's like, oh, he's dead.
I also, because I first missed that part, so I went back a little bit because I was like, what the heck happened? And then I saw, when he's like priming the engines or whatever, basically when they do that overshot, the whole like laboratory is just like lit up. So I was like, is he burning his assistant alive? Like, what is going on? Like, you don't care. It's fine.
Delvin Six says Zarkov's assistant is also Porkins, I think, from Star Wars.
Really? So that's quite forward now? Maybe?
Yeah, there is a lot of crossover and other things to bear in mind. This film was also recorded at Pinewood Studios. It had a lot of English cast in it. So for the longest time, I actually thought that this film was an English production just with an American lead for Flash Gordon. It's an American production done in England. So, but you can see why someone would think that. It's at Pinewood. Yeah. It's got all these British actors in it. It's got Queen, the big English rock band, and the music for it. So all the things would indicate to anyone, if you didn't dive in. Honestly, it wasn't until I started looking. I always just thought it was a English film with, American actors in it. But no, it's not. But I know that lots of films from America have been filmed in Pinewood, and they're clearly American films. But it stacks up that Queen and all these people in Pinewood, But anyway, little thing there. So back to the action. Then they just. Zarkov, it's like, "Oh my, do you want to use my phone?" And he just ruthlessly, and I love.
In my ship?
Yeah, in my ship, in here, the phone's in here. I presume you want to use my phone. The phone's in here, and he just takes him in there. and then then delves to Flash like, "I think I know who that guy is. That's Dr. Han Zarkov. He worked for NASA. He's crazy." It's like, so you didn't think to sort of maybe go, oh no, we're good.
No, it's fine.
And it's just the way. So I don't think there's much character development in this film at all for any of the characters. Flash is a hero from start to finish. Flash is a hero at the start. He's a hero at the end. Dale is Dale, whatever. Zarkov, well, maybe there is a bit of character development. He goes from being a complete bastard to less of a bastard. Because they're all very forgiving in this film. Like, you think, like, Hans has done all this. Anyway, we know they blast off to space. So, Kat, what's your thoughts on when they have the fight, the rocket goes up, but what's your thoughts when they finally land? When they finally land up there?
I mean, whenever you have a character that wears his own name on his shirt, you know he's a big deal and he means business. For him just to be like, oh, we're landed, or she's like, we landed. Do you think it's Earth? I don't think so. He just tops out. Hi, everybody. How's it going? I'm not on a strange planet, but really? Like, he's just, I'm sorry, but if I went through space and all that and I landed somewhere, I ain't getting out of the ship. What's going on? I don't want to go out there. Like, no, he's just, I don't know. It was.
But tell me, really what was Zarkov's plan though? What did he really think? Because he didn't know he was going to take his assistant up there. His assistant, who's clearly not a guy who's ready for a scrap. He initially didn't want to take Flash with him. He just wanted Dell because of the weight thing. But so they're up there now. So what's Zarkov's plan? We're going to jet off, and I've got a handgun. That's your plan? That's your plan?
No, his plan was to say, please. please leave Earth alone. I mean, that's pretty much what I got is I'm going to ask them nicely to leave Earth alone.
I love the fact that Flash goes to shake that guy's hand, and then he's got that thing with the hand, and he does that amazing forward flip onto the dirt, and still Zarkov's thinking to himself, but I've got a gun. You can already see that their weapons are far beyond your pistol. Your 6-shooter revolver. You've got 6 bullets. It's your plan. This is your plan. So lucky for him, Flash showed up. But I have to say, when they do go to Ming's palace, all the introductions and they're brilliant. You get to see all the different races of people. Coming on to when you see Princess Aura. I don't know if you noticed, someone you may recognize, she had like a little pet on a lead, a little man walking around on a lead.
Yeah.
I forget the guy's name, and I had it earlier, but it's completely escaped me. That guy actually played the Oompa Loompa in the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the Johnny Depp one. That was him.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, and as soon as I only knew that because I watched the Flash Gordon Life After Flash thing, and the second you see him, you're like, yeah, I can see it now. I can completely see it. And he's really funny. It's a really good sense of humor on that guy. Hilarious guy, but brilliant. So that's him if you spotted him. But Flash Gordon defends the Earth by playing an impromptu match of football.
Listen, can you get
backed
more
by
American?
Queen?
Listen, if you were confused about, this is a British film, just look at this scene. Apparently, if you can play American football, you can take on challenge guards and warriors and fighters and all that. You just need to know how to play American football. So that's good, right? if you want to do space travel, just play American football before you go and you'll be fine.
Absolutely. Comment from Reading Movies. I have to go, but the book also explains where the boreworms go. Book has a lot more adult themes. Cool. I may I'm not a very good reader. I'm not very good at reading off the page, but hopefully I can find an audiobook of it, because I'd actually like to check that out, because anything that can expand on these things would be great. But that's the thing with this film. There's a lot of implied menace. There's a lot of implied horribleness. But they strike a really good balance of not really showing you what's what, but you know what's happened. Like with the guy who got crushed by the plane earlier. But back to the football scene. That scene. That scene is absolutely, to me, that it's just the way Flash starts shouting, 42. and they've just got like this, I don't know, an ornamental egg or something, and he's throwing it, and it's the way that Cletus says to his men, he's obviously playing some barbaric primitive game. You must match him like this, and he's trying to explain to him how to take Flash on. And then it all culminates in, I know I've just watched it today. It's Zarkov. Is it Zarkov or Dell who throws this ball thing and knocks Flash out cold? But that's hilarious.
The scientist guy, I forget his name. It's a scientist guy.
Zarkov.
Yeah, Zarkov. Because I know that Brian Blessed's, he kept, hitting the guy with
guy in the head.
Yeah, he was like kind of getting in it and stuff like that. But my goodness, that was just. I'm just saying, you want to do space travel, play football first. Play football.
But I think this film touches on all manner of things, because I said we weren't going to go through it scene by scene, but we will talk through the evil. We're not going to go over every detail, but we will go over bits and pieces and sort of try and do it in order of the film. Then you get the death scene. So Flash is taken to the gas chamber. They inject him with something to slow down his rate so he appears dead. But getting past that, we know Flash is alive, hence the line later on, Gordon's alive? From Brian Blessed. But what amazes me is, obviously, Aura has got a thing for Flash, because even at the beginning she's like, let me keep him, father, and that's a really weird relationship. Just stepping back a moment, where she's all twiddling his beard and stroking her dad, and she's all like let me just bring up this picture again. Where are we? Yeah, let me bring up this picture. So to explain the football fight that we're on about, you've got the poster of Flash going, but you've got Flash there. He's doing his high kicks and everything. This is how amazing that scene is. But so you've got Aura to the side. And to me, I know everyone, obviously this film isn't as iconic as anything from Star Wars, but it's in its own right, it's its own huge success. But if you said to me, pick who you want, not pick who you want, that makes me sound awful. Pick your favorite outfit between Prince Slave Leia and Princess Aura. I'm going Aura.
Really?
Yeah, really. Really, I love that outfit.
Oh.
So there you go. But even you agreed with me, because I said to you, Kat, I needed to fill out some space on this slide, so I just stuck another picture of Aura in there. But back to yeah. Oh, and she's an Italian actress. She's done a lot of she did a lot of adult film type, quite steamy stuff. She wasn't a shy girl, because in researching this, a lot of the young cast were very, very a lot of the young guys on set were very distracted by her, shall we say, walking around and all that stuff.
I can see why. Like I said, all the ladies in this, they're absolutely gorgeous in this movie.
A lot of Italian ladies in this, but that comes down to Dino De Laurentiis. Like the fashion in this film, all done by Italian designers. There's it's got that feel, and because the outfits, and as cheesy as the outfits are in this film, they are really well put together. Mm-hmm. They're not cheaply put together. They are cheesy, but you can see they didn't really spare a lot of expense. But from what I understand, Dino De Laurentiis put a lot of his own money into this. So and we'll go into later on, that's why he was really quite particular, and he wanted things just so. See, in that Flash documentary, Life After Flash, he said to the lady who played Dell, let me just bring her up again, I'm terrible with names. He said to Melody Anderson, apparently he said to her one day, your face is very round. And she was like, I know it's always been round. It's always going to be round. She was saying, like, I really wasn't overweight at all. And apparently he was really picky with the cut, like, your face is very round. And she was like, what did he want me to do to my face? What could I have done to my face? I have a rounded face. She's a beautiful lady. Imagine being told, your face is very round. Well, that's fantastic. What would you like me to do with that?
Right? What do I do with that information? Your face is round. Okay. Thank you. I don't know what you want with that. Yeah.
Your face is round. Yeah. Fantastic. So anyway, we got to the death scene, and we get to the moment Flash is resurrected. Aura's going to take Flash back to Arborea to to Prince Baron, who is revealed earlier in the film that her and him are in a relationship. And one of my favorite lines in this. Sorry? Yeah, who is she not with?
I'm sorry, but the guy that gave him a shot, they're making out. She's like all over the place. I'm like, oh.
She's all over her dad. She's all over Flash later. But this film covers so many things. But the line I still love in this film is like, I'll come back to her. And Timothy Dalton, really stern and British, just goes, lying bitch. You're like... you've got this sort of cheesy, campy film, but when Dalton's on screen, you know Dalton's like, he's a serious actor, man. It's just that whole lying bitch. Did you find that moment a bit jarring?
Not
when you compare
jarring.
the rest of the theme.
I was taken back because I had totally forgotten about that line that he said. And so when I kind of had to do a double take. Like, what did he do? He just called her out. Like, you could tell like he loves her, but he's not
very
into
toxic
her
relationship.
Crap. Yeah, like he's just like, yeah, He's just like, yeah, I don't trust you. And I'm like, I could tell if you're calling her a lying itch. Like, what is going on? But then he's just like, you better be there. Like, oh, okay, so do you not want her, or do you? But yeah, it definitely. As we were talking earlier about seriousness, so we have, the Emperor destroying Earth, and then maybe this part. This is like the only other serious actual line.
So real dramatic.
With that. Yeah, definitely.
But then
and
you
then
go to you go to almost pornographic when they're flying to Arborea, because don't you have telekinesis on your planet? And it's the fact that she's like, use your mind, not your voice. And it's the moment where Flash is speaking to Del, and Del just accepts that Flash is alive. She just suddenly understands telepathy. She's on this alien planet. I mean, Del's taking this all in her stride, man. I mean, she's had a hell of a time, but none of this is phasing her. And it's just where Flash goes, this woman's really turning me on, or whatever it is he says. And you're like, and Del hears it and she's like, what? Say that again. He's like, oh, not you. That sort of accent. And to think.
Go ahead.
They had the scene just before I'm jumping back and forth a bit, but the scene just before where Flash is executed, and they're clearly in love after knowing each other for approximately 7 or 8 hours. Mm-hmm. And Flash is kissing Aura. I mean, maybe he was doing it because he wanted to, stay favorable, and that, maybe it's part of his bigger plan, but
So I had a hard time. So she's supposed to be really out of it with that drink that she took, right? And she's like, oh, it's my head. Oh, I'm hearing things. And then, oh, it's really you. Okay. I'm immediately clear-headed. I'm like you said, accepting everything. And then Bongo over here is making out with them, which, I mean, she is gorgeous. So, I understand it. I get it. But it's a lot in that scene. And she's just all over him. It's a lot. It's a lot to believe and take, and just magically everything's okay again. Oh, okay. All right. I'm good. I can focus. I can do this. Let's go. Okay. That's fine.
Yeah, man. It's, sorry, I was just having to, I was getting a little bit of interference this evening through my equipment. So, always fun here. Always fun here. There's always an issue. But yeah, so we have that. And so the theme of how the film feels just changes on it's comedic, it's serious, it's campy, jokey. It's just all over. Then it's an action film. It just covers all these different genres as it goes, and you think to yourself, wow, this film it bounces all over the place. And I just absolutely, I love this film. But you obviously watched it back again. So you were saying to me, you watched it again today for the first time in ages in preparation for this, because you remember it from childhood. And am I right in saying you admitted that it's a lot better than you remember it being? You were almost convinced it was terrible cheese, but...
Oh, I I've had many conversations on my own channel where we would bring up Flash, and I'm like, it's ridiculous. It's stinking ridiculous. That movie is so bad, right? I said that many, many times. And then I rewatched it and I'm like, okay, looking at it from different angles and also kind of seeing like a Star Wars influence that we'll get into. But I actually liked it a lot more. I can remember the things I said with my sister with it, and like us being hysterical about the cheesiness and it being ridiculous. But I was like, I can see why everybody really likes this movie. I can see why it's held on its own, not just, from the whole history with it and stuff. So, but yeah, it's made a better impression this time around. So I would probably watch it again, to be honest now. Before, there's no way I would. Absolutely not. Mm-mm.
Yeah, and I think this film's aged actually quite well. I really do. I think it's held up really, really well. And I'm going to take this slide down now. Remove from stage. Yeah, I think it's a product of its time, and yeah, it's definitely very 80s, as you say. It's I think it's really well made, and we can keep talking over elements of the film, but some interesting thing for you here. Well, you may find it interesting, you may not. Did you know that people considered to play the part of Flash, and Sam J. Jones got the role over these people? One was Arnold Schwarzenegger. Think on that. Okay. And another, which I can kind of see, was Kurt Russell.
I don't think. Is Kurt Russell tall enough for that role? I don't know. When you think of Flash Gordon, you think of tall dude. I don't know that I could see Kurt Russell.
Well, all American linebacker, big, square jawed.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, but I can't see Kurt Russell like that. And Arnold is too big. He was Conan for a reason. Arnold's too big for that.
When the 80s, Arnold would have been huge.
Exactly.
Absolutely huge.
So it's too much. But I think they got the right guy for it. I honestly could not see Kurt Russell as Flash. To me, he just didn't have the build for it of what I think Flash would be. From what looking over the comic books and the other shows and even just the movie and stuff like that, I think they got the right guy, even though it's, the cheese factor's up there. I think they got a right fit with him.
Yeah. And sadly, I mean, as we go through this film, you get to meet all the other different characters. Brian Blessed as Voltan, head of the Hawkmen. I know we see him earlier in the film, but such an iconic part in the film. And the fact that when they have the whole stump monster thing on Arborea, and obviously, Prince Barony chases Flash down, and they get picked up by the Hawkmen, and they go to their palace, and then you just get this insane fight on the platform with the spikes, and it's just nuts. And then after all that resolves, the death of Cletus, which was brought up earlier in the chat. Dr. Doom, as you call him, the death of Cletus. Bear with me just one moment, Kat. Bear with us, guys, in the chat. I've just got to adjust something. One moment, guys. My apologies. Sorry about that. Sorry. Had some weird noise coming through. Anyway, yeah. So where was I, Kat? Can you remind me? What was I just saying before I had to fix Gremlins on the run?
You had just talked about they had got done with Cletus's death or whatever.
Cletus's death. Thank you. Yeah. So you've got Cletus's death, and what a gory scene. Wait, I mean, it's not by modern standards. Certainly not by modern standards. No. I mean, you got kids today playing games of headshots and God knows what, and ultra realistic looking computer games. But I just love the fact that Flash just like slams him onto the spikes and he's like, "Ugh," and he just starts melting in his eyes. I think you said earlier, and the tongue popping out, and it's really quite disgusting. And you just think to yourself, wow, this. And I think it was Reading Movies, or was it Delvian, who said earlier in the chat that they used to cut that out from when they used to show it on British TV. Now, I don't remember that being cut out, but it's weird because memories from being a kid, because I've seen it as an adult, I can't remember what I did or didn't see. Do you know what I mean? The memory gets a little bit toggled. And then, you go all the way through this film and, let's face it, Flash then Ming offers him his own domain, and they just all decide to team together, take on Ming. They basically take Ming out. That's the end of the film. It just all happens. I mean, and that's a really quick way of going through it, because I mean the attack with the Hawkman, I mean, it's a fantastic scene. You got the Queen music blaring, and then Flash decides to sacrifice himself, and he doesn't recycle, but he says the line he heard off of Zarkov earlier about it's a rational transaction, one human life for millions or billions or whatever he says. And before I move on too much, the wedding scene. Before that, something I want to bring up. So Aura and Del have a fight on the bed, which is clearly, I mean, that's just an indulgent woman in skimpy clothes, hardly anything covering, pillow fighting, rolling around on the bed. I don't care what anyone says. There's purpose to that, right? That was put in there for people to, I don't know, for the chaps to enjoy, shall we say? But I just don't understand Dale at this point, because, Aura comes in and she's crying. I can cry now, so obviously I must have changed. Give this poison to my dad. He always drinks a power potion before he makes love. It's like lines like that, and you're like, you don't pick up on them as a kid. So you're like, wow, okay. Here we go. And then Dale's like, I can't do that because I've made a vow to him. It's like, and she's like, but he's never kept the vow. Well, that's the difference between being human or not. And you're like, no, Dale, I don't get that. Some of it's a bit weird to me. I know it's just how it's written, but what did you think when you heard that?
It took me back a little bit. I'm just like, wait, what? Like, so, I mean, I had a lot of thoughts going on, not just with that, but like you said, when she came in and she's pillow fighting everybody. Did you notice the handmaids were all laughing and excited getting her butt kicked? Did you notice that? I was like, oh, they're like, yeah, get her. She's fine. In some way. But yeah, when she said that about,
sorry, dude, for some reason you muted out there. So you were saying about the pillow fight and all the maids being excited. Sorry. You were saying something, then it muted.
It's all good. That's basically what she said, that they were so excited that she was finally basically getting what she would, had coming to her. But I feel like I'm gonna beat the crap out of you, and then you're crying, so then I'm gonna stop. Okay, all right. It's just so easy throughout it.
It's just the relationships just turn on as you might say, on a dime. It just turns on a dime, and because 1 minute Han Zarkov is an absolute, he's kidnapping, he's got a gun. Now he's your best friend, and now you're doing this, and now you're doing that, and now she's good, and you suddenly trust her, but now you won't poison Ming, and you just think to yourself, oh my goodness,
Yeah. You want to get away from them. You want to stop them from destroying, I don't know, Earth. But then all of a sudden you have a moral compass and you're not going to poison him. Okay. That makes sense. Sure. Let's not kill the tyrant. All right. Got it. Noted.
Just want to say hello to Martin here. Thanks for popping on, man. You always pop on to our streams. Really appreciate it, man. Really, really good to see you in the chat. Sod it. We've jumped around enough. There's other bits I want to go into about this film. Bits I've got. But to get through the brief film, but let's talk. We said that we would earlier, and we didn't get to it. We briefly did the Han Zarkov, the Dr. Zarkov memory wipe scene, right? Okay, let's just talk about that, because I almost forgot. We said people asked us to talk on it. First, I'm going to hand over to you first, Kat. What did you think when you first saw that?
I honestly, because I don't remember this part at all. Again, it's been like 15, almost 20 years since I've seen it. But I don't know. It was just really weird to kind of see like the events and stuff like that. And then it kind of looked like somebody like I didn't understand some of his memories, so I was kind of lost in that. And I also think it's really weird that to do a memory wipe, they literally just go backwards from it versus just kind of instantaneous, doing that. Like you have to literally
get what they were going for.
Yeah, but it seemed like to me, like when the shot, like when his dad came up, it looked like he was literally changing to like that age, or like Papa, like he was going through the changes and reverting back to like baby.
I think it was clever. I think it was clever, not just in the, I mean, some of the scenes do seem a bit out of order. Some of it seems, I know they're supposed to be going backward to him being a fetus and whatnot.
Yeah.
But if we forget the little weird intricacies of that scene, because it's always going to be an odd one, but
yeah,
that was probably the only character in the film that had a real explanation of their backstory via a scene. Because if you think about it, we know Flash is this all-American NFL player. He's famous. Dell tells you what she does. But this is the only character who you see. Well, maybe this is why he's a bit disturbed, because it looks like he's gone through wartime devastation. It looks as though he lost his wife in a drown. Was that his wife who drowned in the pool?
Maybe I didn't.
But there's death in it, and you think to yourself,
yeah.
And you can. So when he says the line about "not my memories, my mind's all I've got. I've spent years trying to fill it." You think when you see that wipe scene, it makes it all that more sad. So there is like proper drama in this film, because that makes that really sad. So it explains why he's a bit cuckoo, shall we say?
Yeah. Definitely.
But it looks as though he's lost everything. It looks like he's been through war. He's lost his parents. It looks, and I believe it must be his wife or who's died. Yeah. I could be wrong, but anyway, whoever it was, he's suffered tragedy. He's had a very turbulent life full of loss. Mm-hmm. So the very fact that he still wants to save the human race makes it a bit, even though the way he recruits people is perhaps not the way you should try and recruit people, by holding a gun to them and saying, you're going to do this. But it does make the character sad. And yeah, that's why I say he's the only character you really get any backstory to, proper backstory to.
Yeah, I didn't really think about it till you said that, but that's true. It's the only one you get. And it does show too, like, I don't know, he had an argument with some kind of doing with his job, like either classroom or whatever, but he's just like, quitting or whatever. Like you got a sense of how important that was to him and everything. So for me, it kind of made it feel more of when he was losing all that. I'm like, oh, that's really messed up. And then, like you said, with all the other stuff coming on it, it's just a really weird way of doing it. But you do feel more for it. And I do like the after effects, because so.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry. So I've just realised what happened, that I accidentally muted you then, Kat. I went to mute myself and I've somehow muted you. So you were talking about I'm just having a night of it tonight, mate. I don't know how I managed to do that. I was going to mute myself because I was going to burp. Is what I was going to do. So I do apologize. But there we have it live. I just admit to my mistakes live. That's what I do. So sorry to cut you off slightly there, but yeah, that scene, it's dark. And was there anything else you wanted to add before moving on from it? As I cut you off in your vital moment of discussing the scene and how you saw it, I apologize.
No,
I'm terrible.
It's okay. No, I mean, like you said, I guess it is another, very dramatic scene. They're just not very, for what's actually going on in the story of the movie and stuff like that. You think there would be a lot of dramatic, but this is like the third maybe fourth dramatic, part in it. But it was good and informative, but it's still, to me, just a little weird on how they made it.
Absolutely. Just want to bring a couple of comments up. So again, Martin, we only very briefly went over the history of Flash Gordon from comic to movie serial to TV series, which I completely butchered the dates on at the start because I just been one of those nights. But we did briefly touch it, so I'll bring the slide up for you again. And I presume you're talking this one, The New Adventures of Flash Gordon, which ran from 79 to 82. And the other one I bought up, which I did as an overlay, was Defenders of the Earth, which was apparently only, I thought there was more than one season of this, but one season of it in ran from 1986 into 87, I believe. There was one season. So that's about as much detail as we went into, sorry, dude, because we knew we had so much to discuss with this film. And so we spoke about the film and its thing. I just want to bring this comment up that I've just seen. The part with Zarkov's birth got me the first time. We watch him remember his mother's voice, the sound of a heartbeat, and the doctor and maid. Then he's gone. At least that's what we're led to think. Yes, stirs up a lot, that scene, and that's what I mean about this film. It's very all over the place with it's a cheesy film, but there's campy, cheesy, funny, really bloody serious. Mm-hmm. I know it's a film about people going to space and fighting, the creatures of Mongo and whatnot, but they still do there's still these odd little dark bits in it. And then, as I said earlier, the serious bit with Dalton, lying bitch. I just like that line. So there are moments in it.
It's one or the other. So it's either extremely cheesy or like super dark with like his life seed, that memory wipe seed. It's very like one or the other.
And Martin says, love the animated show as a kid. Those droids were awesome. And he puts, that's it. Awesome. Okay. Wicked. Happy to oblige, sir. Happy to oblige. Right. Let's see what other slides I've got. Let's see what we've got. So we've got to discuss this. Oh, have we ever got to discuss this? The music of the film. How can you can't talk about the Flash Gordon film and not cover the music. So, Kat, while I'm scrolling for a few of my little notes, how do you feel the Queen music went with the film? I think it was an excellent choice, but what's your views on it?
So I love music, and I feel like it like depending on the music for a scene, it can really change the feel of any kind of scene, right? And I think Queen did amazing with this. I thought it's iconic, right? You have Star Wars, you have Jaws, you have Indiana Jones, you have Superman. You have really iconic music, right? But this one, anytime somebody says Flash Gordon, guess what I immediately do in my head? Flash, like that's immediately what I do in my head. Anytime somebody says it, you start doing the music. So I think they killed it with it. I'm a big fan of the music.
And it's really important to say that. So again, I have my notes, and I've known for years they did this, and I will recommend, guys, if you've got Amazon Video or Prime or whatever, do watch the Life After Flash documentary, because there's a hell of a lot in it. It's a really good watch, and Brian May comes on to speak for a bit about the music, and he he words it as, we did the underscore for the film, as in they did this music, because the main score was done by a chap called Howard Blake. Now, what he's most famous for is The Snowman, 1982. Yes, The Snowman. Okay. That animated, we're walking in the air, whatever it is. that's his thing he did. But yeah, so if we're to look at this album, it's it's so well put together. And when you think you've got films like Star Wars, they've got the iconic music, they've got the big scores, and whatnot. But they went down this rock. Primarily, it's Queen. I know they've got the score by Howard Blake, but it's the Queen music that you remember from this film. And the thing that always makes me laugh about it is through the film, especially when they're flying the ship to Ming's palace, is even before Flash crashes, you've got the vocal going, Flash, he saved every one of us. And you're like, oh, you've told us the end then. I know we know, but...
Pump you up, yeah. Yeah.
But Brian May was saying that when he wrote the dung 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 dung, there's a bit where he just slams down the keys on the end of the piano, and when the music video was edited together, that they always cut to Taylor's drums for that, the cymbals for that moment, because they play the cymbals. He's like, but the bit most people, it's the cymbal, but it's the piano crash. And he's like, so yeah, it's the first time anyone gets to know that's what you're hearing, but you see the cymbal crash, which you obviously hear the cymbal, which I thought was cool. But, you know, you got Flash's theme. How can you go? I mean, and it's played all throughout the film. Dun, 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 dun. That, I tell you what, when I used to be in a covers band, right? And this used to always get people going. So our drummer used to start doing the drums, the dum 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 dum, and then I would start just on bass going dun 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 dun, and people used to always go people used to finish it off Flash, you know. So if you had a moment where like a guitarist was tuning up or something, people normally do things, but me and Pete used to start improvising Flash. And we certainly didn't know the whole song, but people knew. People were just keyed in to shout in the audience, Flash, and sometimes the singer would join in and do it.
And then you mumble the rest.
and then by that point, the I'm really stuttering tonight, my apologies. By that point, the guitarist has typically tuned their guitar and we're ready to go. So no one needs to learn that we don't actually know a lot more of that song. But it's so, people who haven't even seen this film know that song.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I'm saying it's iconic with the other ones that I mentioned. It's very well known. You may not know anything about Flash, but you know that at least. And
like when you look at the track listing, Football Fight, you know, it's just called Football Fight. That's so cool. But I could have just brung up the music to talk through how the film goes, because it's fleshed out really well here. But the wedding march, I love the fact that they're in Ming's palace and then they're on an alien planet, but for whatever reason, they still have "Here Comes the Bride," but not boringly. You've got Brian May's guitar, wow, 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 wow. It's just so good. It makes complete sense and no sense at all. And it's great. It's great because they, you know, Flash's theme comes up through the film absolutely loads. But what it does illustrate to you is Flash just gets a real shit deal in this film because everyone's trying to kill him constantly. Yep. He's just a guy. He's just a guy who got on a plane and absolutely everything's trying to kill him. I do want to say here, though, on this slide, which I've still got up, you've got the picture of Freddy with his Flash shirt on, which obviously Flash wears a shirt like that in the film. But can you notice whose shoulders Freddie Mercury is sat on whilst performing Flash here? I couldn't get a higher quality picture.
Is that Darth Vader?
Yeah, Freddie sat on Darth Vader's shoulders.
That's amazing. I love it.
So obviously Star Wars was huge. Because my theory is, so it's quite well known out there, but I'll say it for anyone who doesn't know. The story goes, George Lucas wanted to do a Flash Gordon film. How it didn't pan out, couldn't get the rights, whatever. So that's one of the reasons he went on to do Star Wars. So we got Star Wars. And to evidence that, like I say, you've only got to look back to the old Flash Gordon serials with like the text scrolling up the screen, like the crawl at the beginning of the film. So you can see that you can see influences he took. So without Flash Gordon, you wouldn't have Star Wars, so to speak. Yeah. I'm glad we got it as was, but then you could say without Buck Rogers, you wouldn't have Star Wars, because without Buck Rogers, they wouldn't have done Arrival in Flash Gordon, which... So all these things. But then to paradox that, let's go to 1980. I have no doubt in my mind that one of the reasons they decided to do a Flash Gordon film was off the success of Star Wars. You'd had Star Wars... I do believe that Return of the Jedi, bloody hell, Nick. I do believe that The Empire Strikes Back came out a few months before,
Mhm.
or even if it didn't, it was known it was coming.
Yeah.
So it would make sense. Everyone was jumping on these sort of movies. So it's almost like its own little, like, if it's the right term, its own bootstrap paradox. This film is inspired by the thing that inspired the guy to make the film that inspired it. Do you see where I'm going? It gets very confusing very quickly.
If you notice, especially in Hollywood, a lot of times they'll have like a year where they have very similar movies all come out with each other. You know, very similar, and they kind of like rival each other. So like Flash Gordon, Star Wars, and then like today, a good example of that is the Divergent series and the Hunger Games series. Very similar, and they came out the same year at the same time, and there was 3 of them, just like there was with that. So they definitely like to do that, keeping things kind of similar with it. But you can see a lot
100%.
of, like, I saw a lot of more stuff like with Star Wars and stuff like that. Like you said, the scroll and stuff's there, but when we go with Prince Baron to his place, I swear I was like, are they walking on a humanized, like, or human version of the Ewok village? Like, to me, that's what it looked like, is the Ewok village.
Yeah, but then, thank you. I was going to bring this up. You've gone slightly different. When he's in the swamp, where does that remind you of?
Dagobah. It's Dagobah. So Ewok village, and then down is Dagobah.
But what I would, but the reason I was going to bring this up was because doesn't matter whether Empire came first or Flash came first. I'm pretty sure it was Empire that came first, but they wouldn't. They were filmed at the same places, but there wouldn't have been enough time for them to get that inspiration. So, is it just accidental? Were they? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Empire.
Well,
if Empire would have come out like 2 years before, you could 100% say yes. But you could maybe argue that the tree stuff did inspire the stuff in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
So it's...
Well, because I didn't find this, so somebody, if they know about that, is I don't know if maybe it was a pull from the comics, you know, maybe a scene from there, which then could have also then very easily been from George of putting that in there, since it was so highly, you know, inspired by that. So it could have been that, but I didn't find anything, so I don't know if anybody knows with the comic. So that's what I kind of thought, is maybe it was pulled from the comic books or strip or whatever. So
I've just checked, and Empire Strikes Back came out before Flash Gordon. Flash Gordon was in December 5th, and Empire was on 21st of May 1980. But even still, in that time frame, there wouldn't, unless they're like running across sound stages at Pinewood Studios and checking out what each other were doing. Yeah. I can't imagine that I don't think Flash Gordon took as long to film as Empire, but then as flashy as Flash is, what I will say is I don't think the special effects in Flash Gordon were... I will come to the comments in just a second as well. I don't think the special effects in Flash Gordon were quite as good. The green screen or probably blue screen back then effects were quite as good as what you saw in Star Wars. However, what I will say, the version I've watched recently is the 4K anniversary 40-year edition. And sorry. Sorry. Do you just love it when you... but that's really cleaned it up. So as a kid, I remember watching Flash Gordon, especially when he was on the Hawk Psych. I remember thinking how bad that looked. You could see it look bad, but it doesn't look as bad now. So I don't know if I've just eased up on it, or if that I couldn't get anything other than the 4K version to watch, because I don't own it. It's been on TV for years. It's always been places I can watch it. Flash Gordon's popped up for donkey's years. But I don't think there was as much money spent on the budget, but I still think it held up pretty well. But going back to the Queen music, a question I was going to pose to you, Kat. How do you think Flash would have fared if they'd have put like a John Williams score on it, for example? Do you think that could have turned around the campiness? Let's say just erase the Queen stuff and someone comes in and I know they had the Howard guy do the main score, Queen underscored it with the rock stuff, but let's just say you get like a John Williams in and say score this movie. Do you think it, yes, it would, music always changes the feel, but do you think it could have worked if they'd have gone that route?
No. I don't know.
Me
It's just
neither.
when you think of John Williams and you think of the iconic movies that he has done, they're sort of like, yeah, they have like laughter and funny parts in it and stuff like that, but they're more dramatic throughout. You know, they have that more serious tone. I mean, Indiana Jones isn't totally serious, but it has serious tones that, I mean, you're dealing with Nazis and stuff, you know, like, but with this one, it's so like cheesy with it. I don't think it would have been the right fit, honestly. Like, I think it would have hurt the movie more than helped it. Because I think Queen was just their energy in it and just throughout, like, which I know, you know, a lot of this, like, George is the same, like with how music inspired him and how he's pretty picky with it. It sets the tone on everything. And I just don't, as much as I love John, I don't think it would really work. I think honestly it wouldn't be as such an icon anymore, like at least with this movie, not talking about the comics, but I don't think we would be talking about this movie like the way we are and how people would feel about it if it was John Williams.
So I'm going to go as far as I completely agree with that, because this came up when I was searching notes online and I read someone saying, oh, I wonder how this film would have been if they'd scored it with like a more dramatic soundtrack.
Yeah.
And that got me to thinking, and I was thinking, no, it wouldn't work, because as good as this film is, as cheesy as this film is, and I think this is pretty much what you just, if Queen hadn't have done the soundtrack to this film, I don't think we'd be talking about it today. I just don't. I think I think that combining Queen with this made for what it was. I mean, it wasn't overly successful on release. It did okay. I mean, now it's become a massive cult film. It's become a massive cult film now.
Yeah.
I have got some figures on. I think it was about $20 million this film cost to make, which when you go back on it, that was a hell of a lot of money then, but it's probably not in the realms of your Star Wars and that, but I think they, regardless of how well it did on initial release, you can't always judge a film's success with the fans and its place in pop culture and its place in history just on how it did at the cinema. And I just think they found that it was just a few elements that came together and it gelled and it made this. Because let's face it, you're in a year. I mean, how hard was this film going to suffer anyway? You're in a year where you've just had Empire Strikes Back come out. Mm-hmm. Like if you know, 6-7 months before you.
Yeah.
And that's Star Wars set a high bar. Empire setting, I mean, to me, Empire is one of the few perfect films. I said it. And I'm sure that I think a lot of people think the same on that one. So what a bar to set. So you're coming out with a campy space serial film, because this film they wanted to do a trilogy. I don't know if you know this, Kat, but Sam Jones wasn't the best person on set. Now, he and people around him have blamed it on the fact that he didn't have great representation, and it was coming down to money and what have you. And his representation was saying to him, "No, don't show up, don't." And I think he refused to film at one point when they needed him to physically act, when they got so far in, and they held off, and he got more money out of it, from what I understand. But at the point when they needed him to come back and redub his lines, he was like, "No, I'm not coming back." So I don't know if any of you will know this, but what you're listening to in Flash Gordon, apart from a very few small bits, is not Sam Jones. It's overdubbed.
I had no idea. Wow. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I mean,
And
unfortunately,
from that-
you hear that a lot with people, you know, that they're not the greatest to work on, and or to work with, and then it kind of ruins like any future
It did have a
projects
lot of
that-
effect. It did cause a lot of problems for him. I mean, Sam Jones is a lovely guy now. He made peace with Dino De Laurentiis, but apparently Dino said to him, like, look, one day you need to think about your actions, because one day you could be a star, but right now you're not a star. Yeah. And Sam Jones admits to, he was walking on, he was the big I am. I'm going to be a Hollywood star. He's convinced. He's looking at who's doing the music, who's in the film, who's the producer, who's directing it, everything. And he thinks this is a surefire hit. It wasn't as popular as people thought it was going to be. As I say, over the years have proved kind to it. But of course, he's still very heavily connected to the film these days. He goes to a lot of the Comic-Con events and stuff. And, he's reflected on, and he knows it wasn't the best behavior, but he says, and people around him say, he just didn't have the best representation. He had people telling him, do this, do that, but he just wasn't a big enough. Even the guy who played Cletus was saying to him, don't upset these people, man. That you don't. Right. These are not the sorts you upset in Hollywood.
Right.
So they never got to making the other films. The trilogy was never done. Because you look, at the end of the film, Ming uses his ring. He's dying. He's been skewered on the ship, and he uses the ring. He goes inside the ring, so he survives. However, he survives, and a hand comes and takes the ring. And from what I understand, one of the next sequel, Cletus was somehow going to be back. Just because you see him melt doesn't mean he died. You don't know. So it's a sci-fi film. Anything can. They could have a resurrection ray. They can do what they want in sci-fi. No one's ever really dead. And it was going to all be based underwater or something. Yeah, that's one of the things I heard. Right. And my source for that, I'm pretty sure, is from that Flash Gordon documentary. So it's probably
nice.
I'm just trying to think where I heard. I think it was that. I'm now going without notes. So it's a shame, but had they have decided to carry on without Sam Jones, so I guess my next question would be, had they have recast him completely, do you think they could have a combination of Sam Jones being a bit of a dick at the time, misguided, film not doing as great as it could have, it wasn't terrible, but it could have done better. Yeah. But do you think a sequel with a different Flash could have worked, or do you think it's better just leaving it as it was, as a one and done?
I mean, I think it would have been great to have those sequels. I think it would have been really cool. But the problem is when you have such an iconic character and you switch them out, it's hit or miss with the fan base. Like, look at Henry Cavill in The Witcher, and when they switched to Liam Hemsworth, people were not having it, right? Like, they let you know, absolutely not. So it's really hard. So I know it didn't do that great then, but I don't know that somebody else could have stepped in as Flash, because I mean, who was really around that time that would have, because I know we talked about Kurt Russell, but I don't think he was tall enough and really built for it. Arnold was too big, he would have had to shrunk down, and he would have never done that. I
think it kind of helps that he was a bit of an unknown as well, because there was no preconceived idea of what you were going to get. He's an unknown. I mean, funnily enough, I heard Richard O'Brien say today, because they were talking about typecasting in this documentary. Yeah. But he was saying that it's better to be typecast than miscast.
Yes. 100% agree with that.
Which I think, I'm not an actor, but I think, that's a really good point. Just before we jump back in, sorry, say your point, and then I'll do the
I was just going to say, there's been several actors of just saying, like, because they're like, don't you get tired of, like, people coming up to you about this one character? And he goes, no. He goes, that's made my career. He goes, I don't care that they love me as that character. They've identified with my character so well. That's how he goes, I'm grateful that that's allowed me to have a career. So, I mean, it kind of just depends on how you look at it with it.
I will going to go on to Sam Jones a bit more in a minute. I'm just going to look at the comments here to see who's in. What have we got? This is an interesting comment. The Smirking Bear Studio. For most older Star Wars fans, it's Empire, but for me, it's Revenge of the Sith, personally. And that's totally fine, man, because it's your Star Wars is your Star Wars, and what resonates with you resonates with you. And I saw the original trilogy first, but who knows if I would have seen the prequels and then the original. I just don't know. I can't comment. So it's a completely fair point.
My favorite is Empire and then Revenge. So I get you, Bear. I get you.
Pod Race and Paps, hello, mate. Good to see you. Have I missed the discussion of how great Timothy Dalton is in the movie? We have discussed how great Timothy Dalton is already. He was such a serious actor. Can I say the line again? Can I say the line again? Lying bitch. and the bit where he's shooting at the end and he's running around with that big rifle he's kicked off the tripod, where he's like, bastards. he's
dressed as Robin Hood. I made it.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Yeah.
I promised Dora I wouldn't kill you. Well, unless you beg me, of course. It's like we're just forcing Flash to put his hand in the stuff. So
I love it.
Let me see. Oh, Goji, hello, Goji. Cheers for popping along. Good to see you. He says, my wife and I met Sam Jones at a con a few years back. Seemed like a great guy. Was having a lot of fun with the fans. And that's great that Goji brings it up, because Sam Jones has had a little bit of a turbulent life. He sort of had Flash, went to shit, sort of had a little, came back a bit in the 90s, or went to hell again. Ended up going off and doing security work, which he's been married a few times. Okay. Did security work, loved it because he was providing for his family again. And then Ted happened. And that gave apparently a real boost to his career, and he was getting bookings again. And now he's very big on the Comic-Con scene, the Comic-Cons and convention scene. And you can't blame him, because he gets to travel around, meet the fans. But
absolutely,
from what I understand, he's a very religious man. He's very strong in his faith, and he was saying in what I saw of him speaking that he likes to really connect with his fans, and he feels like they've invested so much time in him that he wants to give back to them, and even if it's to talking to them, if he feels that they need someone to talk to. He genuinely seems like a really great person. He may have had a bit of a moment in his youth, but who isn't a bit of a knob in their youth?
That's what
especially
I was gonna
in
say.
Hollywood as well.
Yes, we all do dumb things. We all get an ego sometimes, and sometimes we have to be humbled and stuff. But that's great to hear. Like he really appreciates his fans and connects with them. That's awesome.
And even to the point, when you consider all that went on with the overdubbing him and stuff and everything, he knows that this is his one big. He's done other stuff. He has done other stuff, but this is his big one. And to be fair with you, the money off conventions alone can probably keep him in retirement.
For sure.
But it was interesting. I keep referencing that documentary, Life After Flash, but it's a bloody good watch. You can see he was a Marine, ex-military man, because he's very when they're setting up and stuff. He's very. No, that needs to be. He's not horrible, but he's very much. This has to be like this. This has to be like that, and he's very in control. But he tries his best to be good with all his crew and good with all his people. So, he's in his 60s now. I mean, I think that documentary was 2017. He was 61 then, so it's that 68 now.
Yeah,
rough maths. So I'm probably wrong, but there you go. That's the line. Freeze, you bloody bastards.
Yeah,
that's the line. Thank you. Thank you. It's great.
He's great. Great. That man is great in any movie you put him in. I love it. I love it.
He is he is a fantastic Timothy Dalton. Yeah, well, he's one of my favorite Bonds. So
Yeah.
But he's a serious actor. Even when he was in Doctor Who, you know,
Yeah.
for the little bit he was in Doctor Who, he just, the gravitas he brings to it. He is serious. Even in Hot Fuzz, even though it's a piss take film,
Yeah.
he's still brilliant in it. He's a proper, and he's a big bastard as well. He's
Yeah,
deceivingly big, very big guy.
You know, I still love him in The Beautician and the Beast. Like he's like a tyrant in it, but I love him in it. Like I said, any movie he's in, I've loved all of them. Like he can do no wrong. One of my favorite actors by far.
Yeah. So there's been, you know, that it was a stellar cast. I know Sam Jones was, I think he'd done a film before, but he was a fairly new, unknown guy. Because Sam Jones, but you know, he's not blonde either. They dyed his hair for that, and I believe he had to put contacts in for it as well.
Oh wow, that I didn't know. I knew he wasn't blonde, but wow, that's awesome.
Great cast. I think Mike Hodges. Well, Mike Hodges, great director anyway, and the fact that I briefly knew the guy and he was a real gentleman, you know. Always gonna have a soft spot for him because he was a genuine. I said it earlier, but he was just Mike, my customer, nice bloke who was happy to talk about his films and stuff with me. You know,
That's awesome.
But yeah, so I think we've. Let me check myself. I think we've gone through it all. You know, Kat. I think we've got there.
I think we have.
Is there anything else you want to say on it?
I will say it. So I do like it better, which I said before, but I have to say, like, I thought the costumes in this was amazing. I don't know if they won anything, but I thought everybody, all of Ming's peoples, like it was just so well done. And like in the beginning, when you see them all gathered, like the different planets and leaders, and all, like you could see a difference because sometimes they kind of just mold them in. But I thought the costume work was just absolutely phenomenal with it. The music is amazing. I do like it a lot better. Is it still ridiculous and cheesy? Yes, but that's the charm. That's the charm of it, you know? So if I know a few people in the chat have said they've never seen it, I go watch it. It's 80s cheesy, classic cheesiness, but go watch it. It's a great little film now.
The great thing with it is even if you go up, I'll pop it on and I'll see how it goes. You will watch the whole film start to finish. So make sure you've got the time because you will. Because it's so fast moving. There's nothing boring in this film. It rolls at one hell of a pace. And it's absolutely incredible. It's fast moving. It's got all different types of craziness. What's that there, Delvin? Brian Blessed punched a polar bear in the face and shouted, "Fuck off" to it and ran away. He wins every time. I believe that is a true story. Yeah. So apparently Brian Blessed turned. So this is another thing. Brian Blessed turned around to Dino De Laurentiis on set and said, "Fuck off, Dino. You're putting off all the actors. They're scared of you." Because the actors would clench up when he's on stage, and apparently Dino De Laurentiis said to him, "Nobody tells me to fuck off." And sorry to do it in that voice, but that's how Brian Blessed did it in this interview I did. And he's just like, "Well, I told him to fuck off," because he was putting off all the actors. Brian Blessed doesn't care, man. Brian Blessed doesn't care.
He's another one that I absolutely just love. He's great.
He said something as well in his stories and that and the interviews. He said there are certain he said Gone with the Wind is a perfect film. You don't need to remake it. And he listed a couple. He said Flash Gordon. You don't need to remake Flash. Just leave Flash alone. Leave it alone at this film. And the fact that there was that failed TV series in 2007 tells you that Flash is what it is in its day. I got nothing more to say other than I love this film. Growing up in a house with a dad who's an absolute Queen fanatic, you know, this film and, of course, Highlander, the other film that Queen did the music for, which I'd love to, hint, Cat, I'd absolutely love to cover one day, yeah? Just saying, just a hint.
Got it.
The first one, not the crap sequels. I
Sorry,
saw this film... TV show was terrible, mate. Anyway, we can have that.
It was my jam.
Oh, The Watchers, or whatever they were. Yeah, where did that come from? I just want to go for a few comments before we close this off as well, because we've hit the end of this discussion. I've really enjoyed this chat.
It's fun.
What have we got here? Goji, very underrated film with Timothy Dalton, The Rocketeer. Great film. Fantastic film. Excellent film.
Yeah.
Didn't actually see it in childhood. Didn't see it until a few years back. But yeah, what a film. I had the choice of seeing The Rocketeer or something else when I was out at the cinema, and I can't remember what I saw instead. And all that happens, I just never got round to watching it. And I wish I had, because it was a really good film. Monkey Boy, which is the most powerful, Ming's mustache or the blessed beard? The blessed beard would smother Ming's mustache, man.
No competition.
Pod Race and Paps. Did anyone notice Porkins? He's Zarkov's assistant. This come up earlier, and so two of you have said it now, so it must be true. How I missed that? I don't know.
So 4 then, right? So we have
4
Porkins, and then we have Brian Blessed as Boss Nass. Then we have Ming, the guy he was in Force Awakens.
John Hollis as Observer
Lobot.
number 2, who was
So that's 4.
Lobot.
Lobot.
So yeah.
That's awesome.
Jojo puts Blessed's beard, obviously. Yeah, well, we all knew that. What have we got here? I may have missed something. Pop Racing Paps, even a song from the Beatles. I think I've missed that, what that is, but I'm sure it was a great comment. Adam, the real toy dude, says, evening, Cat and Nick. I can't pretend to know anything about Flash Gordon. Well, Adam, what I can say to you, mate, is it's a film which I think you should watch, and I don't think you'll mind adding it to your 80s film collection, because it's very, very cool. Who else have we got? Delvian, if you changed your logo during this stream, that gets confusing. I'm sure you've changed your corner logo.
A white picture or something.
We've had Dragon Buddy pop in. Hey, thank you for popping along. Thank you so much. Travels and More with Jason says, main lady's costumes, outfits got damaged in filming when they wanted to do a reshoot. Oh, so they must have got damaged, which made the reshoot difficult. Yep.
Yeah.
I think they have to have tailors on these films constantly there. I think there's a lot of, that's quite common in films, that outfits and things get torn up, and they'll have multiples, one for an action scene, one for a standing still scene.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that Luke, I know this is a Flash Gordon stream, but I'm pretty sure Luke's outfit he wears in Empire, there's 3 or 4 variations of it he wears during the filming of it.
Yep.
Adam says, I do remember the 80s film, but other than that, that's about my knowledge on Flash Gordon. Flash, mate, he saved every one of us. That's all you need to know. He saved every one of us.
Yes. That's it.
So, yeah.
That's all you need to know.
That's all you need to know. And you need and to go and watch it. But I want to say a massive thank you to the chat. We've had loads of you in tonight. Loads and loads and loads. Sorry for the couple of technical difficulties and me reading the wrong things earlier, but that's me. It's never going to be perfect with me. It's part of the fun, isn't it? Coming to one of the live streams. Apologies to you, Kat, for muting your audio earlier by mistake when you were talking.
You didn't want to hear what I had to say. It's fine.
Oh, I wanted to hear what you had to say.
I'm kidding.
Oh, and there's a comment from Chris. Everyone forgets Flash Gordon is an awesome love story. It is a love story. It's they're rapid. They're very rapid.
Yeah.
They get together quick.
Tell that to our children. Oh my gosh. Yes. Yeah. That's so beautiful. So beautiful.
What's it she says? Yeah, tell it to my children. I accept. And then they pull apart. I have just got engaged. It's like, you met 12 hours ago at this point, or whatever it was. But no, chat,
can't
you've all been brilliant. Kat, you've been brilliant. Thank you so much for coming along and joining me on this.
Absolutely.
We've said we're going to do another one. We already know what the next subject is. Up to you, Kat, if you want to say what it is, or do you want to leave people in suspense for a bit? I'm not worried.
I don't know. I'm really excited for it. Like I'm really, really excited for it. So it's up to you.
We've got a guest as well.
Yes, who I'm even more excited for.
A guest, a very good guest, a very, very, very good guest. Nah, we'll leave it for a little bit longer and we'll announce it at the time. It's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be a good one. Yeah. And the guest, I'm gonna say she, and it is a she. It's a lady. She bloody knows her stuff on this subject as well. So,
one word to describe her: amazing. She's purely. I want to be her when I grow up. Like she's just amazing. I absolutely adore her, and I'm so excited for this next one.
Smirking Bear Shooter says, "Is it Godzilla, lol?" No, we're not.
Fair. Godzilla 2.0. Thanks.
We could have done 8 streams on Godzilla and still not have got through it all. But anyway, quick roundup. Guys, please, if you're watching here and you haven't checked out Kat's channel before, and I'm sure you all know Kat, but in case there's somebody watching who don't, check her out. She's Kat Vadersgirl28. You got to get in and watch some of her puzzle streams and her little product openings of her key. You've been doing your Godzilla key rings recently, haven't you? So,
I have my bag clips.
Have you got anything coming up?
Got a new one. It's Tiamat from the new one. There you go. Right.
Excellent.
Do I have anything coming up? Nothing super planned. Just I try to do my normal at least Fridays and Saturdays streams. Sometimes I try to sneak it in through the week. I haven't been feeling the greatest, so I've missed some of my Saturday shows, but I'm planning on both Friday and Saturday night to be there. So come hang out with us. Yeah,
do. And it's always worth, because not only can you just join in the chat, quite often there's a link that you can go in and you can chat live on the stream. And you don't have to go on camera. You can just...
Yep. Or you want to show something you got or something, I'm more than happy to show it off too. So come hang out.
Or completely hijack the stream like I do sometimes, talking about random subjects. It's entirely up to you.
That's okay. That's okay. I allow it.
I think the next thing coming up, Wednesday this week, a new episode of a new podcast I'm doing with Stu, the Universal Toy Collector. It's a pre-recorded episode is dropping, and it is going to be called, it's not going to be called, it is called The Rant Podcast. So if you get upset by little things in life, if little things irritate, I'm not talking politics and all the crap that goes on in the world, I'm talking little things. People standing at the end of supermarket aisles when you're trying to get and pay, baristas ignoring you, little things.
People don't know how to merge properly. Yeah, I got it.
People who park across 2 parking bays, if they're the sort of things that annoy you, join us for Rant, because believe you me and Stu are going to be putting the world to rights. That is going to be dropping Wednesday night at, I believe, around 7 or 8 p.m. As I said, it's a pre-record, but please do check it out. And then I believe after that, the next thing will be live and moderately entertaining with me and Monkey Boys Toys. I've already said it. I'll say it again, and I'll always say it every single time. Chat, you're amazing. We can't do it without you guys on these live ones, and you've absolutely shown up and been here in force. My apologies that we had a bit of a knobhead out of a troll earlier. Thank you to the mods for sorting that out, but I hope that person didn't upset any of you. If they did, my apologies. I can only apologize. But thank you all for being here. Thank you for joining us for this one, and we will see you on the next one. So catch you soon, guys.
Bye.
Do the awkward wave, Cat. Bye. Bye.